Welcome aboard. So we're almost at that 5 minute hour. So I think it's time for us to get started. We have a good group. Welcome to everyone who is here with us. We are so thankful and grateful for your time and taking out the time to join us. So welcome to our session where we're going to be talking about getting started with self-service. So today we're actually going to cover step 4, but we invite you to check out the previous recordings and hopefully you can make it next week as we wrap up this 5 part series. So let's go to our next slide. So we're going to discuss the agenda. So right into it, we're going to start out with our intros. We're actually going to highlight what you can expect from our discussion today, as well as open up the floor to discussions, demos, and even some Q&A. So let's go to our next slide. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Angie. I serve as a customer success manager here at Zendesk. I have almost a decade of experience with the Zendesk suite. And I must say, I love our product and I think it's the best. And yes, I'm biased and I won't hide that. But I also have co hosting with me, Victor. And so, Victor, tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Angie, and hi, everyone. Happy to be here with you all today. I work here in Zendesk as a managed services consultant, basically a Zendesk consultant that helps customers like you guys implement and maintain their systems across the board, right? I have a total of 6 years. Now probably closer to 7 of Zendesk experiences in specifically, and 10 plus years working on the SaaS market. So as a consultant, I like to take pride on the fact that I believe I've seen a little bit of everything. Hope I can bring some of that expertise to you guys today and help you expand your knowledge base usage here.
Awesome. So let's go to our next slide and talk through what we're going to be learning today. So, again, last week was centered around the creation of your knowledge base articles. Today, we're actually going to discuss how you would test your end user experience and what to look for when monitoring your help center's efficiency. Again, next week is going to be talking through ongoing maintenance and what is needed to improve and manage your help center moving forward. So, please join us next week as well. So let's go to our next slide. So in this session, this is all about testing and monitoring your help center. So to ensure a smooth experience for users, we encourage you to thoroughly test your help center by reviewing navigation, search functionality, and the responsiveness across devices. Checking essential features such as your article management, your multimedia integration, as well as your user feedback mechanisms will help you to improve your performance metrics like your load time and your error tracking. So once launched, utilize reporting tools such as Google Analytics and user surveys to track the engagement and make data-driven improvements. I have a saying, data is king. So let's go to our next slide. So when we're doing our demos today, we're actually going to be in a mock environment called Coffee and Co. So Coffee and Co is our top supplier of premium coffee beans, which they seek to enhance their customers' support by expanding and implementing Zendesk workflows to streamline communication and improve response times. May sound similar to some of the goals of some of our audience members, right? So their objective is to provide exceptional support that reflects the high quality of their coffee products, ultimately strengthening the relationships with their partners and increasing customer satisfaction. Sound familiar, right? We're going to start off with understanding the user experience. So, next slide. Your help center is designed to provide self service support for users and agents, which allows them to access information from a knowledge base or a community if you're using that. Understanding your user navigation and interaction with the help center, it is so crucial, guys, for improving the self-service experience, which is actually going to rely on a well-organized content structure of your categories, your sections, and your articles. So best practices include testing common tasks from the user's perspective, using typical search items to provide relevant results, and maintaining a logical organization of content for easy use. Additionally, you want to ensure proper content visibility based on the user permissions and optimize the loading speed. So I want to kind of talk through this very quickly. I cannot I cannot say this enough. Dive through your existing tickets. You don't need to put every single nuance issue into your knowledge base. You want to get the bang for your buck, which means you want to be able to have your knowledge base deflect tickets. So you want your top articles within your knowledge base, right?
Okay, so for this, let me quickly go over the live demo. I'm switching over to the demo instance right here, where I'll be showing you how we can navigate the structure of a functional Zendesk Help Center. Right. Notice that from the general Zendesk UI, right? If you're familiar with it as an agent, all you have to do is maybe you're working on the views, but all you have to do is come here on this four squares menu, as I call it, and hit knowledge. It'll take you to this page right here. And this is how you, as an agent or as an admin, is going to access your knowledge module here, right? And this will be your first contact with the the help center. Notice how we have right here four main categories, right? Tracking, orders and subscription, our coffee, and general, right? These are all meant to serve as ways of organizing your articles and basically how your customers are going to be interacting with your content, right? So let's say, for example, I want to explore our coffee. If I go in here, this is the category page. Inside of the category, I have these I can have sections which are like which help us further breaking down, which are these two right here: brew guides and tips, and coffee sourcing and quality. And under each of these sections, I have the individual articles right here, right? Let's expand one of these, and then I have a list of only the articles here readily available, right? So that's why it's important to have good naming and a good naming convention for all these, right? Helps your customers navigate these further. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much. And bear in mind, this organization is done on the back end as an admin, so you manually assign articles to each category and section when you build them, and of course you can change that later. But that's why it's important to understand exactly where you want to fit these articles. Titles also go hand in hand with the search functionality right here, which we're going to be exploring in a second. But in general, that's how you navigate through your sections and to find the individual articles inside of each, right? And now that we've explored how we can navigate through this, let's try using the search feature to quickly find specific articles in the Help Center, right? So let me just go back to the home page right here. Again, the search bar is going to be right up top. And let me just use a simple search term right here, blend coffee. Once I search for it, you can either see the suggestions come up right here, or I can hit enter to expand the search and see more suggestions, right? At first, by doing so, uh, oops, sorry. Let me just, it was supposed to open the article directly. Maybe I clicked it the wrong way. And copy. There we go. There we go. This is what I was looking for. So this page is going to show you all the search results for this. Notice how the more relevant articles in here will come up top, right? And it's going to rank by the article's titles and everything. Uh, and basically this is, oh, and of course, if I had other like categories, for example, right, that would be showing up right here, I would have different types right here. For this example, I'm only seeing articles. And then if I click articles themselves, I can navigate by category to determine which article best suits my needs here as a customer, right? And that pretty much wraps up this part of the search feature, right? Keep in mind that when I search for keywords right here, the system will try and match these keywords to articles titles, articles content, meaning the first 100 or so words, and articles labels as well. So that's why it's important to make sure you're managing everything and keeping up with what your customers are asking on tickets, right? So going back to what Angie was saying, if you can monitor that activity and try and insert some strategic keywords here and there, that you see often on tickets that you might not think of as you're coming up with the articles. That's a very good idea as well to try and increase the make the articles easier to find for your customers as well. Oh yes, it's another demo this time for generative search. You might have seen that already here on the top, right? If generative search cannot find um, an article or come up with an answer based on your search terms, this is the message it's going to show. No quick answer, and it suggests you to rephrase. And just so you're all aware, this feature is basically what Google does. When you Google something, it will give you a quick answer right there in that Google main page. This is what generative search does as well, right? So for this, let's go back here to the homepage and sorry, let me relocate myself here. There we go. If we search for blend coffee again, still nothing comes up. So coffee training tips. See, it's going to look for a quick answer, and once it finds the answer, this is what it's going to do, right? It's going to show you the quick tips again, kind of like what Google does, and show them to you in a relevant manner, and it's going to say where this suggestion was based off of, right? So this article right here, tip for grinding coffee beans correctly. If I click on it, it will take me straight to the article on a different tab, right? And I can read further about this. And by closing the tab, I go back to where I was at the beginning, right? And another nice feature going over into the articles is, let's say I found this article, it's useful to me, and I can, of course, rate it here with a yes or no. And if I want to stay tuned for updates on this article, for example, and bear in mind, this is fairly common for, let's say, tech companies, for example, which use a single article for like a one-stop shop for sort of updates, right, for their systems or something like that. If I hit follow here in one of these articles, I will be able to I will be notified via email, basically, whenever this article is updated with more content. So this is a very good way to make sure your customers are up to date on everything you're offering. And like I said, for the biggest example I can think of is for tech companies, right, where they're releasing new updates and new features. They update these articles. It can work with any other product that is similar to that. If you have anything of this nature, feel free to test it out and encourage your customers to follow these articles so they can be notified of these as well, right? Oh yeah, and also right here on the bottom, you're going to be able to see recently viewed articles, right? If you go over this real quick, this is where you're going to be seeing your overall like navigation history in the article in within the help center, right? If I visit another one right here, for example, it's going to show right here that I've seen others, so it allows me to quickly bounce back between two different articles. But yeah, I think this is it for this portion of navigating the help center, the search feature, articles, and everything.
Alrighty, so now thank you so much for that. That was even informative for me. So let's kind of talk through testing out your setup, right? You put in all of this work. Let's talk through what it looks like to test it out. So, testing the user experience in the Help Center is essential to ensure all functions operate smoothly and catch potential problems before going live. So, best practices including assuming a user identity to view the Help Center as users do. This is important because it helps you identify any issues they may face. Additionally, previewing your theme, verifying your branding, and your layout changes. You can test all the different user roles to ensure the appropriate content visibility and functionality. Lastly, make code changes on a duplicate of your live theme to maintain the stability while testing out new features or fixes. And so, if you haven't been using this, you do have the ability to kind of preview what it looks like for an end user and agents, admins, or even if that particular end user is anonymous. So, testing your help center setup allows you to identify and resolve issues before the customers encounter them. This is going to prevent frustration and ensure smooth support from the outset. So, making changes in the preview mode or copies of your live environment protects against accidental disruptions, and it's going to build the confidence in your help center's readiness for launch and providing a reliable self service experience. Let's get into another demo.
Yes, this one is a little bit quicker, but it's just as important, right? Notice that at the beginning of everything, right? Um, we showed you how this is the general view for the help center for you as agents or Zendesk admins, right? Let's take a look at how we can change the or how we can preview this as an end user, for example, just so you can get the general experience here. So first of all, you want to go into knowledge admin on the top right. If you have admin privileges, this is where you would go. And by admin privileges, I mean just creating articles or even managing everything help center wise, right? In order to access the theme and preview it, you click the design icon right here or the eye icon on this left hand side here. And this is where you're going to be finding all your themes. This is where you'll be managing all sorts of different themes. If you want to test out different kinds of look and feels, please add themes here, right? You can do so by clicking here and add a new Copenhagen theme, which is the Zendesk standard. There are more options as well, but this gets a little more technical, so I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but I just want to encourage you to test out as many layouts as you want, right? And experiment as much as you want. Uh, for this though, let's just hit customize the existing theme, which is going to take you to where you can change a bunch of different settings. But what I really want to focus on for this demo is the preview role on the top right here. Notice how right now I am seeing this as an admin, which means I have full access to everything that is currently set up in the help center. If I want to see this help center as an end user to see how their experience is going to look like, I can do so by going here and clicking end user. Notice how one of the sections here, or one of the categories, sorry, disappeared. That means that the general category is meant for internal use only, right? This is a good way of saving articles for your agents to look into. For example, if there is some sort of sensitive information that you want them to access as some sort of procedure that they should follow in a given situation, you can use an internal facing knowledge base for that while leaving the external facing knowledge base readily available for everybody as an end user right here, right? Uh, and that's pretty much it, right, for this demo. Just wanted to show you this little feature right here. And notice you can also change which page you're viewing as well. If I want to see how an article looks like from an end user perspective, I can do so from right here. Of course, I can navigate on the help center as well. This is just a quick switch. And I can try as an agent as well if I want to see what their permissions look like versus an admin, if you really want to get granular with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this demo.
And so in this next slide, we're actually going to stay on this screen, but this is how you would actually assume the persona of a customer. And so there may be times when you need to see exactly what a user is experiencing, especially if you have multiple organizations and if you have multiple brands where certain customers can see certain content. Zendesk actually allows your admins and certain agents to assume the identity of an end user, making it easier to troubleshoot issues from their perspective. So there are a few ways to access a user's profile, such as through the ticket, a direct search, or the customer list. So for this particular demo, we're actually going to focus on showing how to assume the identity of an end user by accessing their profile through the customer list. And so when you're in the customer list, you can actually choose the customer. And in this example, if you notice the drop down, that allows you to actually assume the identity, right? And so from there, once that's done, it's actually going to open up a new tab so you can see as the end user would be viewing the help center. So after that, once you're done, you would return to the original browser tab where you assumed, and then you would click revert identity. And that's how you can assume the identity of an end user. All right, we've had all of these steps. Again, if you have not had an opportunity, if you're just joining us and you missed the previous sessions, we're going to make that information available to you. I believe Brett has already put it in the messaging box where you can actually get access to those. So when it comes to going live, I want to kind of talk through a pro tip, right? Launch your help center as soon as you can. Don't wait to have all your content ready. Go back to what I mentioned earlier. Get the meat of what's actually coming into your help center so that you can deflect like that. Start by publishing articles that address your top customer issues and the highest priorities. I cannot say that enough. I've had customers in the past, they wanted to put everything in the help center, then it got bogged down. They weren't keeping up with the content because there was so much. We're saying do it as fast as you can, but again, I believe Victor mentioned it earlier. It's all about the strategy. Be strategic with what you're putting in your help center. So at this stage, when you're going live, you should have completed the important tasks such as mapping out your business model, adding your users, creating your knowledge base articles, and testing your setup. So again, if you've been following us, these steps will likely feel familiar. And if you do need to have that previous content, no worries, we already have it for you. So, next slide. By default, the address of your help center is always typically a Zendesk subdomain, such as my company and mycompany.zendesk.com. For this example, for our mock environment, it would be coffeeandco.zendesk.com. You can map a subdomain of your own domain to your default Zendesk address. We actually call this host mapping. So, now something to kind of keep in mind. Your host mapping only changes the public URL of your HIP center. It will not affect the Zendesk sign-in page of the agent interface URL. So as a quick example, your agents will see the default Zendesk URL, again, as our example, coffeeandco.zendesk.com in their interface. But if an agent uses the host map URL in the agent interface, they will be redirected to the default Zendesk URL. So you can actually use host mapping for subdomains such as support, for example, support.coffeeandco.com. You cannot use host mapping for main domains such as coffeeandco.com or coffeeandco.co.uk, especially if it has any type of DNS or SOA, which is start of authority record. So kind of keep that in mind. And I'm
Which is
gonna
my cue for another demo. This time, this time I am going to show you how to activate your help center once everything is good to go. And again, let me just pull up the knowledge and sorry, let me close preview right here. You will notice that as soon as I reach this help center page right here, the system is telling me that the help center isn't visible to end users until you activate it, right? This is telling me essentially that even though I have the theme configured, I have all the articles set up and everything good to go, as we can see by this screen right here, this is not publicly available. So even if someone was to type this URL in their browsers and try and access that directly, this wouldn't be possible because this help center is currently internal facing only, right? So let's say I wanted to make this public. I'm ready. I'm feeling good about all my content and everything. If that's what you want to do, you go into knowledge admin. And again, You need admin privileges for this, right? But all you have to do is go over here into settings, and it will be right on the top here saying activate help center. There are a bunch of other settings right here. We're not going to be going over all of them right now, but for the sake of activating the help center, all you got to do is click activate and activate again, and that's it. The help center was updated, and if we go back, you will notice that the system no longer is showing that message. That means the help center is live, and if you are allowing public access to it, you can start sharing the URL right away on like email signatures for your agents. Be proactive about this. Email your customers saying, hey, we have a new help center out, right? Encourage them to visit it, encourage them to self-serve. And like Angie was saying, don't hesitate to start, right? Like that's as a consultant and having launched many of these help centers in the past, the best way to start this is starting, right? Like get your knowledge out there and start gathering feedback based on it, right? So for example, outright, you might have an idea of what your tickets are about, right? Like you may have some sort of request type field that allows you to understand what people are using to create these tickets. You want them, you use the more frequently associated request types and bind them to articles or categories and whatnot. Then you will start understanding how these keywords perform within your help center, right? And if everybody here is familiar with SEO, you will understand what I'm trying to say. But as you start testing out your keywords and everything, you will start to see that there are more words or more search terms that people are using here, and we're going to be covering that in reporting. But let's say I search for something that isn't here: Street Fighter 6 Sagat combos. Nothing exists here, right? Like, of course, this isn't a Street Fighter 6 help center, but this search query here that returned empty is going to be reportable on in our analytics module. So you can leverage these empty searches to understand what you need to improve on. So let's say you're seeing searches returning empty that seem related to an article that you already have created. Try and implement these search terms to these articles so that you increase the chance of the people that are actively searching your help center stumbling upon these articles, right? That's one of the best tips I can give in terms of overall improving and making your help center more accessible, making sure your articles are being surfaced more. And this is just talking about the search engine right here. These articles can be used in very much like in all sorts of different places, right? Like for example, bots and in messaging, right? I know this is not the topic, but this process here is not only meant to work for the help center. Sure, it helps and this is great, but it helps you beyond that as well. Just wanted to make sure this is clear. And this is like the very best practice you can have. Make sure you're monitoring the performance of your help center as well. But that's it. I've talked enough about it.
No, those were some very helpful tips. And I mentioned earlier, data is king. And so we are going to get into how to monitor your performance after you've actually set up your help desk, or some of you may already have a help desk and you're looking for ways to optimize. Monitoring your performance is crucial. So let's go to our next slide. So when it comes to monitoring, you do have the ability within the analytics section, previously known as Explore, you have the ability to look through our pre-built dashboards, where you're going to be able to see metrics like the article views, the votes, the comments, and even the search activity, getting more and more in depth with how your users are accessing the information. What's getting the most views? Do you have anything that's been getting disliked or anything to that nature? Now, we kind of glossed over it earlier, but I also want to put a plug in for Google Analytics. You get to get into the weeds of what's going on within that information in terms of how are users accessing it, where are they going next within it, how many times are they clicking, things to that nature. So when it comes to the data set, you have the knowledge capture data set. So the knowledge capture is actually when your agents are embedding help desk information right there from the ticket. They're not actually going to the knowledge base and picking it up, but they're actually within the ticket. There's a knowledge capture app there that allows you to see what your agents are embedding into the tickets. You also have the knowledge base data set, the team publishing data set, which is actually for enterprise only. And we'll actually be at some point that may be getting phased out, but more to come there. You also have the community data set, if that's something that you have, enabling your end users to kind of talk with one another in a kind of like a social media setting. You also have your user session data set, which allows you to see the outcomes for specific users and the trends and things to that nature. So let's go to our next slide. So why should you track your help center performance? I'll say it again. I'm going to keep saying it. Data is king. Data is king. Data can be subjective. That's true enough. However, if you're not looking at the data, how are you making data driven decisions? You have to know how you want to know how your help center is performing. You want to see what's working, what's not working. You want to see the articles that are being engaged. You want to track the votes and the comments. Again, you want to be able to make data driven decisions by using our dashboards and detailed reports that are going to give you those clear insights into how your help center is performing. So, data allows you to make smart choices to grow and improve your self service experience. So, in this next slide, this is where we kind of mentioned earlier, we have a pre-built dashboard within our analytics section that allows you to have access to the knowledge base data set. And so within this data set, you can actually track how many and how often articles are viewed, created, or even updated. You're also going to be able to identify your top performing content and articles with the highest engagement. That means that those are the articles that you want to make sure are up to date at all times because your end users are gravitating toward that content. Also, you want to be able to understand which articles are being used by your agents and which ones are being used by your end users. Also, being able to spot areas that need improvement and additional documentation. So, all of these insights can help you refine your content strategy, improve your self service, and ensure the knowledge base stays relevant and effective. So, this is pre built, it's already available to you. It does a lot of the heavy lifting, and all you have to do is click on it. It's within the dashboard section of analytics, and it's called Guide, your guide data. So let's go to our next slide. So, what we're going to talk about now is how the guide dashboards can also give you access to search data set. This is actually going to help you understand how your users are interacting with your help center's search functionality and whether your content is actually meeting their needs. For example, you can view search effectiveness by month to identify, do we have any trends, or even uncover content gaps. So within this data set, you're actually going to be able to track popular and trending terms, measure how often the search return results are leading to actual article views, identify your failed or low performing searches that indicate content gaps. Also, understand what topics are the most in demand from your actual end users. These insights are going to help you improve your relevance, optimize your article titles, and your keywords to make sure that all of this great data that you're putting in the knowledge base, you want your end users to actually be able to find it and find it quickly. So let's go to our next slide. Let's talk about how we're going to be able to use the Zendesk Guide dashboard to give you visibility into how your users are actually navigating the Help Center through the user session data set. This is going to help you understand real user behavior across sessions. So when it comes to this actual data set, we're going to be tracking your key metrics like your sessions, your visitors, your page views. You want to be able to see how your users are interacting with your Help Center in a single visit, including the articles that they viewed and the search queries that they made. You also will be able to identify the drop off points or the friction in the user journey. Understanding which pages drive engagement and leads to support requests, you're going to be able to see all of this information in your Zendesk Guide dashboard. So these insights are going to help you evaluate the overall self-service experience and optimize your help center layout, the structure, and the strategy based on what the actual user activity is. So as we get to our next slide, now you know. We went through quite a bit today in terms of how to test and monitor your performance. All of this information is going to help you build a strong self service experience. Start creating a help center that helps your customers find answers faster and makes your support teams work easier. So, next slide. Again, our next session is next week, and we're going to be talking about optimizing your help center plan and the ongoing maintenance that's going to be needed to improve it and manage it. This is your time to shine. Let's hear your questions. Anything on the content or anything about the help center in general, we want to hear it. And so it looks like Stephanie has already started us out. A bit of a strategic question. I'm glad we have Victor on the call. If we wanted to centralize more of our internal agent information, could we hide an entire source, such as Confluence wiki pages, and make them internal only? Or would it be better to develop an internal help center that is separate from our customer help center?
I've seen it both ways, and Angie, if you don't mind, me answering this one, I've seen it both ways. It's very possible to create an internal facing help center only for your team. It's entirely possible to work out of Confluence as well. However, it's important to highlight that for that knowledge capture feature, and again, there are ways to circumnavigate this, but the knowledge capture feature is readily and easily available for Zendesk help centers in general, right? And I don't know if you've covered this in the past in a different session, but basically, help centers are built around brands, right? Brands are like these entities in inside of your instance. So each brand has its own help center. You could create a brand for an internal facing help center that has all the articles in it. Your tickets or the knowledge capture feature in your tickets is going to be able to look into the knowledge bases for all your help centers and find the most relevant articles. And the way it works is similar to the search feature. It's just going to look for keywords on the ticket and try and find these keywords in the article's titles in the first 100 or so words, and then on the article's labels, right? That's how it operates. So if I had to choose one path over the other, I would try and start with the Zendesk Help Center. And if that doesn't work for whatever reason, you can use Confluence, and you can use I forgot the name of the feature, but you can build these little crawler bots that are going to be looking into these other help centers as well. But this can be slightly more demanding in terms of setting up. So that's why I would advise to try and build the Zendesk Help Center first. It's easier to manage and maintain from a Zendesk perspective.
Perfect. And so Wendy asks, we have multiple user segments in our help center with certain articles restricted to specific groups. Is there a way to preview the help center as a specific user segment so we can see exactly what the users in that segment see? Could you go back to slide 16, Victor?
Yes. Let me know which one is 16. Sorry,
Uh,
the one for assuming identity.
yep.
Yeah, that's what I was
Right
thinking too.
there.
Mhm.
And so in this segment, well, on this particular slide, it kind of shows you how you're able to assume the identity. And kind of like what we mentioned earlier, in this section, you're actually within a customer profile. And so when you're in that user's profile, you click the user options drop down at the top right. If you notice the little drop down arrow, and then you're going to select assume identity, right? And so once you click assume identity, it's going to pull that knowledge center up the way that they would see it in a separate tab. Once you get done assuming identity, you see what you need to see, you close the tab, you go back into this profile, and then you would click on revert identity. I hope that helps, Wendy. Awesome. Those are really good questions. We have a bit of time left. Any other questions that we have? Again, it could be about the content that we have or just the help center in general, especially since we have Victor on the line. This is typically a paid service, so we got a bit of time to kind of talk through some consultative questions. So I would encourage anyone, if you have anything, please do ask. In the meantime, as we're kind of waiting for customers to come in, Victor, I know you mentioned earlier that you've done this so much. What bit of advice that we haven't talked through that you would say would be good for our customers to know when it comes to creating a knowledge base or even optimizing a knowledge base with Zendesk?
Mhm. Well, for optimization, I think I mentioned empty search queries, right, and reporting. For optimizing, I really encourage you to look into the reports we've covered here in these slides. Angie went over them. They are the meat and bones of what is happening with your articles, like uh, how uh, uh, how your customers interacting with them in a way, right? And maybe, and by looking at them, you can understand if is the content not helpful or are they not finding the content at all, right? It's very important to identify what seems to be the issue, right? And again, if somebody here worked with marketing or general like SEO, you will know that a lot of this can be trial and error until you find that sweet spot of like, this is how I communicate with my customers through this help center, right? So I highly encourage you to test as well for maintenance. Sure, look at data, but don't restrain your creativity, if that makes sense, right? Feel free to experiment and see how these new tests go in terms of performance. So, maintaining the help center is this ongoing uh, uh, um, experience of like always looking at what's there and expanding. As far as starting out, I would say that aside from actually starting and don't like planning too much, right? Like getting your feet out there, getting yourself out there and experiencing everything is one of the best things you can do. But to prepare for that, I would encourage you to review your tickets, like Angie said at the beginning. Don't be afraid to get into the nitty gritty details of all your tickets and understanding how people communicate, how people talk with you, understand the language that your customers use, and try and replicate that in your articles, right? Don't need to be don't need to be like super like polite and super fancy with your language if your customers aren't that way. But certainly if they are, then try and adjust to that. So it's all a matter of trial and error here as well. But yeah, oh yeah, and one very common misconception about launching a help center that I've had to talk to a lot of customers through is, don't worry too much about the design, right? I think I can just go back to the admin center here for this real quick and talk to you about what I mean. Don't worry too much about what your help center looks like, right? This here is the standard Copenhagen theme. It has a lot of features, right? Um, that allows you to easily change stuff like colors for font, for text, for all kinds of different things, right? Allows you to change the fonts you're using on your help center, the images and everything like that. Again, don't be afraid to experiment with those. But don't stress too much about how it looks at first. Make sure it looks okay, right? Like this right here is a very good example. It's a very simple help center in terms of setup. There's nothing crazy happening here, but it looks nice and clean, right? It clearly states your company, what it does, and what your customers can expect to find here. And the main reason why I say this is because if you really want to get crazy and creative with design and changing, like for example, oh, I want these categories to come first, to come on top of the search bar. This is customization. So by going to edit code, you can technically do this. I'm not going to do this because the conversation can get complex really quickly. But what I'm trying to say is, don't stress too much about looks, uh, uh, and avoid customizations, at least at the beginning if you can. The main reason for it is because notice how the theme version right here is 4.3.6. If your theme isn't customized in any way, you will be getting updates to the themes. And for example, if we go back to that search feature that I showed you, oops, I missed an E.
And we
That
do
I
have a
searched.
question in the chat too, Victor. Thank you for the
Sorry,
great content, but we do have a question in the chat as well.
sorry. Yeah, I tend to ramble. So yeah, go
No,
ahead
I
and
think that no, I think everything that you showed was awesome. I want to make sure we get to Meg's question. It's kind of a
absolutely.
two-part question. And so this is the question. We have a hard time directing customers to our help center from our website since it's technically a different URL. Do you
Mhm.
have any tips for how companies do this? For example, we have a product details on a product page, but customers might have more questions that can be answered by reviewing our help center. But it's difficult to direct the customers there because we really don't want to direct them away from the buying process. So any tips for Megan?
Mhm. Um, so Megan, first of all, this is a more general tip, right? But what I like to advise my customers is to, instead of letting them know where stuff is, point the way to them. Like for example, in the middle of the purchase process, instead of just letting them know you have a help center, put a link in front of them. Let them click that link. I know it sounds obvious, but that alone can change a lot, right? So, for example, like I said earlier, try and put the help center on some sort of email signature that your agents use, right? Make sure it's out there. Put that link in front of your customer midway through the purchase process, if you can, if it's possible, right? Meaning, sure, they might move away on one end, but at least they don't have to open a new tab, type stuff in. You're being directed to it, right? Knowledge capture is a good way of doing that. Make sure your agents are interacting and actively suggesting articles. Another idea to put this in front of your customers in like your own website is you can iframe the help center sometimes, or just reference content in here. For example, if you're using an external website of yours, right? Like let's say midway through the purchase process, you can leverage the content in here and display that inside of your own structure. You don't need to necessarily direct them here, kind of like replicate the content or iframe the content, or use your own crawler bots, right? Not in Zendesk internal. This can be done externally from your admin settings in that portal of yours. I know, for example, that WordPress has something like that, right? That you can sort of build this integration between the two, where you're exposing your help center content in that WordPress website, for example, right? There are other options too, but to your point, the more you can point them towards the article, the better, instead of having them go there first. This point, getting the articles in front of them, helps creating that idea that, hey, I can find answers here. So if you point them to the articles first, they will start slowly getting into the idea that the help center is there and I can go over there. Of course, not everybody's going to do this, but from experience, this helps creating the habit, right? And of course, it's even better if you can put your help center out there in like your social media, and make sure everybody's aware of that, right? Let people know it exists, but to draw attention to it, put the articles in front of them when they need help. That goes a long way. Does that help you, Wendy? Let me know if it doesn't. I can try and elaborate a little bit better.
I think so. Thank you so much, Angie and Victor, for all these amazing explanations. About what Victor was saying, remember that on the step two, we saw everything about branding and how you can use like all these tools on the help center. So if you miss it out, you can always go to the chapter and then check out like the preview events. And then, of course, don't miss out the final episode of these sessions, in which we are going to be talking about actually the maintenance and the ongoing maintenance, and also like all that you need to, to keep your help center alive. So I don't know if there are any more questions about this topic, but I want to thank to Angie and Victor because this was an amazing session. And of course, remember that at the end of this webinar, in the upcoming days, you will receive like a kit by email with the recording of this video, and also useful resources that could be very helpful for you to mind and to build your help center. So I don't know if there are any other questions. Angie also send you like for all those questions. For Jatan says like if we can walk them through on how we can update the house mapping for the help center, and Angie just share like here the link. I don't know if that was helpful or if you will go through this, Angie, before closing up like the session.
Right. So there was one before there where Wendy asked about a webinar or walkthrough. And so I actually added, and I think this would be good for anyone on the any of the audience members. We have training.zendesk.com. There is a plethora of free information. I always encourage customers to start here because sometimes customers have a habit of kind of rolling the dice, right? When you go into the training.zendesk.com and when you get into the roots of the self-service, it gives you the bones, it gives you the foundations, and there's a section that kind of talks through the analytics piece. I would say anyone start there if you want to get into the nitty gritty of setting up a great help center, as well as being able to monitor the performance. Now, in terms of the host mapping, Victor, maybe we could go through it, but for me, I also like to include that article so that we could gloss over it, of course. However, at the same time, you may want to look at all of the different pillars into what that change actually does. So I would encourage you to actually review the article so that you know if you decide to change the URL, everything that's going to happen as a result of that. And that's
Mhm.
nothing that I could kind of gloss over quickly, but Victor, feel free to kind of add on that.
Yeah, no, just to add my 2 cents. In order of like a hierarchy of sorts, if all you want to do is get rid of the .zendesk.com next to the URL people are using to access your help center, I would advise using host mapping. So people type in name of the company.com or whatever domain you have.com, and then it redirects you to the help center, right? Even if they are seeing the help center URL with the .zendesk.com, at least they use something else to get there, which is for the most part is fine. But if you really need that gone, or if you really need to change the what comes before, oops, sorry, what comes, oh, sorry, got a little bit lost here. Oh, there we go. If you really need to change the my company part of the URL here, this is a subdomain change for your whole instance, right? So keep that in mind. And it impacts a lot of different things, like Angie was saying, including the URL your agents use to log in, right? So this can be quite a disruptive change, or it may not be that disruptive. Depends on everything that you have set up. Or for example, if you have integrations set up that are using like endpoints, API endpoints with your current subdomain, you will need to address all of those, right? So uh, do be careful when planning a subdomain change like this. Make sure you are fully aware of everything that's going to happen and all the possible implications. But if that's the way to go, then by all means, it is possible. I just advise caution on this matter because I did see some things go very wrong in terms of integrations, especially. So yeah, be wary of that. But that's just my 2 cents.
Awesome. Um, I think that we have covered all the questions, right, Angie? I don't see anyone like any other like that are
Yes,
missing.
we had great questions today.
Yeah, such a very nice audience. And with all these insights, I think that was a very nice session. If you have any other questions, like this is an amazing insight that Angie just shared with us, like please feel free to go to the trainings page and send us. You will find like so many useful resources, and also through our help center, you can find like also other articles that could be very helpful to build your help center and bring it alive. So if we don't have any further questions, I think that we can wrap up this session. Thank you so much, Victor and Angie, for your time. It was an amazing session. I hope that all of you enjoy it as much as I did. And see you next Tuesday, sorry, for a final session. So have a great day and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.